60 seconds and counting. We are go for Apollo 7 at this time. T-minus 50 seconds. The vehicle now pressurized, and the vehicle is go, as is the spacecraft at this
Our second speaker was a former candidate for Congress. He has worked as an investigative reporter for 30 years. Early in his career, LA Weekly submitted his name for a Pulitzer Prize. He is the author of The Secret Behind Secret Societies and Oklahoma City Bombing, The Suppressed Truth. Kind of connects with what Catherine went into here today. He has spoken to audiences all over the world on politics, mind control, deep medical fraud, and he's done some tremendous work pertaining to the creative power of the individual and how to break away from the system of control. Again, why do people accept this kind of stuff? Why do they not know more about it? He's one of the great journalists, I would say, that we have in the alternative field. He is dedicated, committed, and very focused in his efforts. His angle and work is an essential part in bridging the topics of this conference out to other fields so that we may understand how cover-ups are possible and how programs like this have remained hidden and secret for such a long time. He writes prolifically at his website, nomorefakenews.com, and he's going to talk to us about mind control, the secret space program, and the secret theater of reality. So with that, please help me welcome Jon Rappoport.
How about that? Is that okay? Can we just sort of trim down the echo? So let's put all the lights on. I see there we go. Oh, people. Okay, because I have no slides. I have no information. I have no background. I come from a faraway place. And this one is for Harry. Okay, so Edgar Mitchell goes into space. He comes back with other colleagues. They're debriefed at NASA. Very good source tells me they report paranormal experiences in space. Slightly uncomfortable for federal government, but they've heard this before. Not the first time guys have gone out and come back. I'm not talking about we saw saucers. I'm talking about somebody like Mitchell or one of his colleagues saying, out in space I could look down at Earth and see with my naked eye people walking around. I was told this in 1973 by a physicist of repute, and then NASA said to Mitchell, you know, we can't really go public with this, right? I mean, you can understand that, right? But what we might be able to do is get your little seed money so that you could do research on your own, leave NASA, and report back to us, keep us informed on what you find out, because we're interested. We're definitely interested. And again, it's not the first time stories like this have been told, people coming back. And all of a sudden, something called the Institute of Noetic Sciences pops up. Ding, ding, ding. Research into the paranormal. The best paranormal reviewer of research in the world, Dean Radin, is now the chief of scientists there at Noetic Sciences. He wrote a book called The Conscious Universe, in which he proved, not just speculated, from a comprehensive overall review, extensive review of all of the literature of laboratory paranormal experiments on all manner of tests, the balls dropping into slots, telepathic sending of photographs. These are all laboratory experiments, ruling out the badly formed experiments from the good experiments, a major undertaking. And his book, The Conscious Universe, comes to the correct conclusion that overwhelmingly the data show that there is a significant existence of the paranormal. That's what the research indicates. Greater than probability, greater than chance, greater than, all of that. 1993, 94, around the time I was running for Congress in Los Angeles, casually meet a woman from the Soviet Union who is one of their officially certified psychics. And we're having a nice conversation. I mean, they do have these people over there, or they did. And I said, so what do you do there? She said, I talk to the cosmonauts when they come back. Really? Oh, yes, absolutely. Then she finds out that I'm a reporter and she doesn't want to talk to me at all. I said, can you, give me something, anything. What are they saying, the cosmonauts, right? No, can't talk. Secret. I said, just give me one example of what cosmonauts have said when they come back from space. What happens to them in space? And she says, talking to dead relatives. Really? Yes. I said, so suppose I go out into space. Do I have to talk to my dead relative? Especially my Aunt Gert. Because she's going to be looking for salami from the Carnegie Deli in New York, no matter where she is, in the cosmos, and she's going to try to get me to find it, right? Out of the gravity well, things happen to people. Leave the gravity field, things tend to happen to people. Not everybody, not all the time. This is a working hypothesis, but it's got some merit, significant merit. Government agencies are interested in this. What happens to people who leave the gravity well? Talked seriously to a guy who worked with one of these low gravity training chambers. Back and forth. Do people ever have out-of-the-body experiences? Are you kidding? All the time. Really? Oh, yeah, absolutely. What does out-of-the-body experience mean? It means that the person is perceiving some section of reality from outside their body, and they know it. What psychiatrists would call psychotic behavior, for which they want to provide many medications. My boy, we have to stuff you back in because this is not good, what's happening to you. Well, doctor, I had a great time. I had no problem out there. It was tremendous, in fact. In fact, I could tell you a lot about what I realized about my life, existence, reality, all sorts of things. Indeed, my boy, all hallucinations, for which we will medicate you. Because I can tell you, paranoid schizophrenia, we have the labels for this. Gives you another slant on psychiatry. The primary role of psychiatry is to stuff people back in. Now, I've researched this for many years as a reporter. I can tell you, I'm not just, chatting about that. I can give you chapter on verse on why psychiatry is an absolute pseudoscience, has absolutely no basis in science whatsoever. There is absolutely no laboratory test of any kind for a definitive diagnosis of any of the 300 officially certified mental disorders. 0 tests. No blood test, no urine test, no hair test, no anus test, no toe test, no eye test, no genetic assay, no brain scan, no nothing. And if you read the DSM, which is the Bible of psychiatric profession, you discover that nowhere in there, I don't care what it is, autism, schizophrenia, anything from the oldest classical labels to the newest ones, oppositional defiance disorder, whatever, will you find a definitive laboratory test that allows the psychiatrist to make that diagnosis. Wow. I wish I could float a scam like that. I mean, we're talking big time bullshit, right? Not little stuff. This is big time. You're in the majors when you're doing that. You're in the major leagues when you're doing that. And to convince the government to back you up and make you a virtual monopoly in the field of mental health, to even back you up with courts, 72-hour lockdowns in psych wards, guns if necessary, to enforce that monopoly over the mind, that is some big-time conning. Big-time conning. On a PBS episode of Frontline called Does ADHD Exist?, they interviewed Dr. Russell Barkley, who was at the time professor of neurology, blah, 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 at the University of Massachusetts, and they said, well, a lot of people are asking, does this disorder really exist? Because they're saying there's no blood test. To which Barkley, you love it, doesn't happen that often, when they just step right into it. With full arrogance. You people don't understand the science, our kind of science. Of course there's no blood test for ADHD. There's no kind of test at all. In fact, if that was required in our science, we would have no mental disorders at all, he says, because there is no laboratory test of any kind for any of the mental disorders, which would be absurd, because therefore it would prove that there are none of our labels mean anything, which that couldn't be, therefore it's science. Dr. Barkley, give the man a plaque, right? Give him an award, bring him on stage, sit him in a throne. The lockdown of the mind, because the drugs follow. Well, out-of-the-body experience, really? Paranoid schizophrenia. Haldol, I think we've got a good drug for you. Well, if we don't like that one, we'll try Risperdal, and if necessary, Thorazine, but that's out in the distance somewhere, because we want to stuff you back in. Well, that's a direct metaphor for going into space. Because I don't care who you are, or what you say, or what you're willing to admit or not admit, and I'm looking at all of you now so I can actually see you. At one time or another in your life, you wanted to go out there. Maybe now, too. Something happened and you said, man, that's where I want to go. I think we should all go out there in space. It's a good idea. It's an adventure. I'm getting a little bored. I don't want to say it or tell anybody, I'm playing around, I want to go out. Let's go. A little thing called Star Trek comes along on television in the 60s and people go insane all of a sudden, right? The network cancels the show. One fan puts up a letter writing campaign, massive, and it's back on the air for another little while. And then another little thing called Star Wars comes along, the premiere. One of my closest friends is at the Grauman's Chinese Theater on a weekday at 11 a.m. in the morning at the premiere of Star Wars that occurred with very little, kind of spoiler alerts or anything. The audience is jammed into the theater. She's telling this directly. And she says, as soon as, in a galaxy far, far away, appears on the screen, this gigantic roar goes up from the audience who have never seen the movie, have no idea what it's really about. It's 11 o'clock in the morning on like a Tuesday, and people are going insane. They want to go out there. What is this symptomatic of, More space, new space, different space. The soul wants space, all kinds of space. Just like a painter wants space. Painter gets into his studio and there's a gigantic blank canvas leaning up against the wall. It's like life is beginning again right now. Oh, it's a whole new life. And everybody has had that experience at one time or another. And everybody tends to, forget those experiences. And some people don't want to remember those experiences, right? I'm not like that anymore. Perhaps I was once. But, that's ragged behavior. I'm very organized, and I like this and that and that and this, and never happened. Never felt any joy, really. Don't know what it means. No thrill, no adventure, no excitement. Organization. Give me organization. I run my entire life through a GPS. When I go to the bathroom, I turn it on. It says, walk down the hall, take a left, and go in there and sit down. Right? But at one time, even that person, if you, took away the cobwebs, would say, yeah, I was 10 years old. It was the end of the school year. It was the last day of school. I walked to school. It was a gorgeous summer day. And I knew that space and time were unfolding in front of me endlessly. 3 months? It wasn't 3 months. It was 3 lifetimes of freedom. Space. Space. Not the space of the classroom anymore. Knew what that was all about. Endured that from September to June. Now we're talking about a whole different kind of space. Out of the gravity well, the tendency is to experience paranormal phenomena. That's a working hypothesis. It's reasonable. My opinion, it's way more than reasonable. 1984, somebody says to me, interview Ted Clark. He's a hard scientist at JPL Labs. He is a systems administrator on the Jupiter probe. He's a great guy. Okay, this could be an interesting story. I go up to his house in Altadena, and he says, let me show you some books of ancient Athens and Renaissance Italy. He's got photographs. He leads tours there. I said, what is this all about, Ted? He said, I want to show people what a Renaissance looked like, because we're in one now. Only we don't know it, apparently. Because we're on the verge of having the kind of technology that can do absolutely fantastic things. I said, for an example, it's a JPL hard scientist. His answer, orbiting hotels. This is 1984. And he says, people go out and they come back. Why do you go on a vacation, right? Basically to relax and for the view. Well, you've got a great view out there. Right? You're going to come back and people say, well, how was it? Did you have a good time? Holy mackerel, baby. Let me tell you what happened. Every 90 minutes it was a great time. They tell their friends, and their friends begin to loosen up and say, gee, maybe I could, they're building new all the time, and maybe I could get out there and feel it, new space. New space. And he said, you want to know, Clark, you want to know what a real space program would be like? I said, yeah, sure. We go out to the asteroids, we mine the asteroids, we make space platforms with domes, we have 20 space colonies, we shoot them out of the solar system with a gravity assist, and they go with maybe 10,000 people in each colony to rendezvous 10,000 years later at a planet around Barnard's star where we believe there's a good chance there could be life, and they compare notes on the evolution of their societies. He said, that's a real space program. He said, unfortunately, with elections every few years and these idiots in Washington, you're never going to be able to get it off the ground because you need continuous funding for that kind of thing. I said, you're not saying we have the technology to do this? Absolutely no. He said, no, but if you know anything about the technology we do have and where it's going, you can see that we're going to get there to the point where we can do this. So now, I'm kind of, can I book, just want a small room, in the back. New space, new consciousness, new abilities. It's there. It's absolutely there. part of my work is investigating this area in a certain kind of a way. For example, I interviewed a guy who did extremely well as a volunteer in one of these laboratory paranormal experiences where, you know, here's a sealed room and 2 miles away, or here's another sealed room, and over here they give this guy a 6-pack of photos and they tell him, try to telepathically send that photo to a guy over here in the sealed room, and okay, now they unfold the same 6-pack to this guy, and they say, which photograph was sent to you? That one. So I talked to a guy who scored abnormally high on this. And I said, okay, well, here's what I want to know. How do you do this? How did you do it? He said, well, I'm sure that the way I did it was not the way other people do it, because I have a kind of a, you know, idiosyncratic way of doing this. He was a little embarrassed, and I said, well, tell me, you know, what do you do? He said, well, I imagine a secretary sitting in an office in Omaha, Nebraska. This is the kind of lady who is very sincere, earnest, would never tell a lie. I imagine her, and she tells me which photo was sent to me. I said, really? He said, yeah, that's it, baby. That's how I do it. Imagination, creative power. These are essentially paranormal, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. This is not the brain doing the chemical, or now I am a pain. No. And one of the reasons, not the only one, but one of the reasons that I'm bringing this up is because after all the information you've seen so far and what you will see for the rest of today, naturally the question arises, what can I do about all of this? What can I do? Or what can we do now that we've seen all this information? Here's the hard part. Some of you will not like this. My apologies in advance. Talk to my agent. I've got lawyers. They have lawyers. We're ready. The question, what can we do or what can I do, has 2 aspects. It seems to be directed at somebody, like me or one of the other speakers, or, you know, I get emails occasionally from, well, you wrote about this and you wrote about that, and GMO food and psychiatric drugs, and think on iron now. What can we do? But what I'm really saying is, and this is the little Zen twist, you're really asking yourself the question. That's the heavy part. When you ask somebody else, that's like, you know, shifting the knapsack. Here, what can we do? I'm going to sleep, wake me up when you figure it out. You know. You're a smart guy, you're really smart, you're a smart lady, it's very special, and I know you. So what can we do? I'm going to sleep, wake me up, tell me when it's time, you know, I want a little contribution, whatever, you know. But the question is really directed by self to self. Self to self. What can I do? And the only way to answer that is with your own imagination. That's the problem. Because a whole lot of people say, imagine what? I'm not familiar with that thing. Right? I don't think I have one of those. I know a guy that does, but I don't have one of those, you know. Maybe I did, you know, before they sent me to the psychiatrist, you know. But not now, not anymore, right? Or somebody will say, well, I work with systems. Imagination. Step 1 to, you know, That's what I do. Imagination. But that's what's necessary to answer the question, what can I do? And everybody in this room, for himself, herself, could come up with a unique answer. But it's like a mining operation. How deep do you want to dig? Well, I thought about it for 30 seconds this morning, and what I came up with was if we manufacture a new color of nail polish, that might be step one to changing the world, or a high-heeled shoe with a little bit of a better angle, a couple of sparkles here and there. If I put some glitter on my eyebrows, maybe an alien will come down or see the reflection and say, these people are good, let's give them what they need, That was my reflection this morning on my own imagination, right? So it depends on how deep you want to dig, you see. But this is a very interesting process. What can we do? What can I do? Well, whatever that is, aside from community group, okay, all of that, whatever, cause, ideals, yeah. But aside from that, there's the real power is with the individual to answer that question. What can I do? And some people are going, yeah, I see what you're saying. Let me get back to you on that. Because for a lot of people, they haven't engaged in that activity for a very long time, if ever. It's a whole new, dig deep and imagine what I could do, me, uniquely me, about the fact that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and there's a secret space program, and there's people out there, who want to use this for mind control and, all kinds of other things, and trillions of dollars are being funneled into it secretly. Yeah, what can you do about it? Well, nothing. Yeah, I understand that answer, And if we were in like a cosmic therapy group, we could all just scream, nothing, nothing, nothing for an hour, What can we do? Nothing. What can we do? Come on, nothing, And then what can we do? Nothing, until we, got it out of our systems, And okay, I'm buying it, you can do nothing. I believe you, And I've met people like that, come up to me afterwards, and they're basically saying, nothing. And then they look at me like, did I really get it, Like they're sort of, saying, I have no responsibility for any of this, and don't you dare try to pin this on me because we can do nothing about nothing. Right? Yeah. But if you begin to dig, you see, using your imagination, people come up with some very interesting things. And I don't know, a couple hundred people here right now, who knows what might happen? And then you get the people who say, well, I don't know what I would do myself, and I can't really imagine what that would be, but one thing I do know is that I wouldn't be able to imagine anything that would be of any value. If I could. That much I know. Well, give that man a medal. That man is smart. He can't possibly imagine what he could do to change the world, but he knows that whatever he could imagine, it's going to be absolutely useless. The man is a genius. Give that man a professorship in the UC university system. Put him up top, baby, right? Make him the dean. An aide to Janet Napolitano, run the whole thing. This man, he's right there. This is what we want in our society. A guy who says, I can't possibly imagine an answer, but I know in advance that if I could, it would be useless. This is the citizen of the future. This is what we're training the world to get to, right? Yeah, baby. This is what we want. Yeah. Okay, we have a club now, right? We know, we're all right. We're now all members of a society that is bound to become billionaires, all of us, based on the premise, if we could imagine any solution to the world's problems, we know it would be useless. Man, the grant money is going to flow in like crazy, baby. We dress that up with a little fancy lingo, we're off and running. But it is, unfortunately, the answer. Imagination. You would think, oh, well, I was hoping it wouldn't be that. Really. I was afraid you might say that. I was hoping it would be something more like the right pair of stockings, possibly, or if I changed my hair a little bit, things that are within my grasp. Transferring money from one credit card to another, does that work? I don't know. I was looking for something in that area, possibly, as the answer to everything, on that level. But to say that, you want to cut me loose as an individual to look deep within my soul and use my imagination to cook up some absolutely fantastic way of overturning the status quo. Me? Little old me? No. Yes, little old you, who's not so little. To look at it another way, the bad guys are already using their imagination. They've been doing that for a long time. And what they have created is this strange thing called reality. Who knew, right? That's what they do. In my book, The Secret Behind Secret Societies, I go into this at, excruciating and painful length. The bad guys have been painting the mural of reality for a long time, but they're not interested in looking at it themselves, unlike an actual painter. They just want to turn it the other way and show it to everybody else and say, this is reality, okay? This is it. And the last thing they want other people to then do is to say, well, who painted that? No. They want to make it so convincing that people are just going to say, yeah, okay, that's reality. Yeah. It looks like a reality. I don't know what to compare it to. Maybe a ringing cell phone. It must be reality, and I will accept it because it's here, you see. This is the requirement for, we're all intelligent people, so we all know, see, what's the definition of reality? What's here? Anything else? What else could it be? Now, if you're a particularly perverse artist and you produce that painting, you're going, man, we got a winner here, baby. See this? See this guy? He comes up to us in the museum. Yeah, that's reality. In fact, this is very important, he doesn't just look at the painting, he walks into the friggin' painting. And he takes a left and a right, and he finds a little cottage, and he says, can I move in? Everybody says, sure. And he's there, and he stays there. That's how convinced. So somebody else, not just one person, of course, but the mural is being painted, right? Has been for a long time. That's called imagination. Now, we can say, well, we just don't have what it takes to do a better, different mural. We got to go with the one that we got. And what I'm saying is, that's all wrong, see? But it sort of depends upon you actually saying, actually, I have an imagination, and I'm going to imagine a different reality. And some means of getting there. I'm going to do something big. All right? Theater. Let's have a little theater. Let's upset the apple cart, for example, with some theater. Poke a hole in the status quo. This is what the trickster god, Hermes or Mercury, was all about in the ancient Greek culture. He had enough firepower to be the king of the Olympians in that mythology, but he didn't want to be because he could see that everybody else was glued to this single reality, and he wasn't. He was passing through buildings and cars and planes and whatever they had back then. He would just go through it and around it, and he would look at everybody hypnotized by, the reality. He would say, man, wake up, don't you see? And if necessary, he would resort to stealing things from people. Go into their houses at night. Okay, so he put the TV here. Let me move it over here. This is going to be good, And then let's go into the kitchen cabinet, and let's take all the cereal and put it underneath with all the, the cleaners and the crap, right? And then let's see what else. Let's take his wife's clothes and put them in his closet, and his clothes and put them in his wife's closet, right? And that guy wakes up the next morning, he gets up, he goes, what happened? What happened to the reality that's been painted for me that I've accepted? Everything is different with the clothes. Honey, did you change the clothes? No, you must have done it. I didn't do anything. Why is the cereal under the sink with the Clorox? Are you now putting Clorox in my cereal? Imagination, creative power. This is what consciousness is about. And part of the so-called, paranormal, that word, it really means imagination and creative power. So that imagination produces reality. I know for some people it's like, oh man, I can't deal with that, I can't deal with that. I want to see the Andromedan design for the flying saucer that landed in Detroit last year. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. I just want to see, the blueprint and the thing and Sorry. That's not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. So, let me give you a model. This is not final, definable, systematic, but it's interesting. And there are overlaps. Consciousness. Feedback consciousness. Okay? We all have it. You wake up in the morning, oh man, where is that coming from, Feedback. The body is feeding back. A signal. Pain. What do I do? But more than that, it's like the person is constantly asking himself or herself, how am I doing? How am I doing? How am I doing? And they're getting feedback signals that become, by their own interpretation, the answer to that question. Not so well. Not so well. Can't see, I'm not doing so well. I feel sad. Sadness is coming to me now. It approaches on a steed of white. So therefore, I must not be doing too well because people are not supposed to be sad. Therefore, I'm on the outs. Tisk, tisk. Feedback is coming through, you see. And then you've got people that actually, you draw a conclusion from this. Everybody does it to some degree, but I'm talking about, overwhelming obsession. So how are you doing? Not good. Why not? You want to sit down? Right? Me, and then me, and then of course it was me, and my, and me, and me, and me, for 3 hours, right? And then all the feedback signals the person's been getting in their interpretation. That's feedback consciousness. Now, it has a good role. It's useful at times because it tells you certain things need to be attended to, you know. If you're walking with your foot like this all the time, you say, oh man, how did my foot get folded under there? It might be useful to pay some attention to that feedback and, you know, try to work on that, right? But as an overall philosophy, it's very inhibiting. And of course, the tendency of psychology and psychiatry practiced by the overwhelming number of morons that are turned out in those professions tends to reinforce that. So how are you doing? Which translated sort of means like, how's the feedback, baby? What feedback are you getting? You know, and after a year or two, patients become experts in relaying. I had a dream last night. Well, yeah, it was very uncomfortable. It was in a small room. It was very hot, and lights shining down on me, and there was kind of a big giant worms crawling across the floor, and he went upside my shirt and he started talking to me. He said, I'm your dead Uncle Bob. The psychologist says, yes, let's look into that. Let's check that out for a while, all right? Feedback becomes a professional, you know, engagement. It's a party. It goes on, you know, and therapeutically speaking. So there are certain elements of society that emphasize that. Okay, so let's go up one from that. Problem-solution consciousness. This is, now we're in engineering territory. And I know there's a bunch of engineers here, right? We got a problem, Bill. Yeah, Bill says, that's what I live for, baby. I can't get up in the morning unless there's going to be a problem, right? I need coffee and I need a problem. You got it. Here's the problem. The plane crashes. That's a big problem. Yeah. You know, you might remember it was like a $2.5 billion contract and the plane crashes. That's a big, yeah, it's a big one, yeah. We got to fix the problem. We got to fix the problem. All right, let's go, you know, yeah. Ready, we're ready. Problem needs a solution. Not criticizing this. Adrenaline, the juices flow, the whole deal. Now I can apply my knowledge. Yeah, but there are people who, you know, view that pretty much as everything there is. See? So wherever they look, there's a problem, right? And if it happens to be, say, I don't know, some little item like their kid, all right? Every time they look at their kid, they see a problem. Right? Kid, my boy, my son, the love of my life, you're a problem. And I'm only saying this because I love you, baby. And I'm gonna, you and I and your mother, we're gonna solve the problem, right? And every day, the kid looks at his father and says, I don't like this vibe coming at me. You know, I don't know what it is. But the father is saying, yeah, he's a problem. Look at him. Just look at him over there. I don't know what he's doing, but it's a problem. You know? Look at him. He's walking from one room to the other. He's in the garage now. That's got to be a problem, right? Walks in at night, sleeping, good boy, stands there. He's a problem. You're gonna have to do something about this, right? Everything is a problem. That becomes the, you know, the message, the overwhelming message. It works, when it works in the right places, just like feedback works when it works in the right places. Now you get to the next level, which is creative consciousness. It's where people check out. I'm checking out of the hotel now, or he's talking about creative consciousness. I've got to go catch a plane. Because creative consciousness, you see, doesn't really respond to problems exactly. It goes beyond problems because creative consciousness, creative power, imagination create reality. So you're now concerned with creating some new reality. Doesn't have to be conceived of as a solution to a problem specifically. That could be where you start to contemplate it. Yeah, there's a serious problem. The world is being run by the wrong people. That's kind of a problem, I think, or as Harry was saying to me yesterday, the breakaway civilization is all human civilization since the beginning of time, right? So what we're trying to do is break away from the breakaway, right? That's the whole deal. That's what we're dealing with here. So it certainly can start there, the creative impetus, but it goes way beyond that very quickly because imagination is now concerned with creating new reality and also destroying old reality. Let's not forget destruction. Destruction is a good guy if he's in the right ballpark. Yeah, let's destroy that. Yeah, it's going to be good. Oh, we're going to destroy this. It's going to be great. People say, oh no, that's bad karma. You can't do that. Everything must stay, If we disturb one little hair on anybody's head, bad things will happen to us. The Great Spirit will rain something down. No, he won't. He doesn't care. Creation and destruction go together. It's all part of the creative process. The creative consciousness wants to create new reality. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to be an artist of some kind or another, if you use the term in the broadest sense. Come on. No, I do not and never have wanted to be an artist. I have wanted to be a statue. Yes. I have wanted to be the bust on a pedestal in a library. I have wanted to be an academic, able to secure lifetime tenure and look down at my nose at everybody all at once. I have wanted to be Brian Williams, to lie every night on television and pretend he's just a newsboy in old country America, riding his bike down the street, throwing papers onto the porches. Hey, just a good guy. I wanted to be Diane Sawyer, Don't Cry for Me, America, because I'm crying every night for myself. Diane is leaving ABC News. I had to take a ton of Prozac to even get here when I heard that. Everything she does, everyone she interviews, it's like, she's ready to weep. Oh my God. And then what happened? Oh, it got that bad? Really? Tears. Never wanted to be creative. I have wanted to be Scott Pelley of CBS News. Scott Pelley is like a cardiac surgeon who's always wanted to do an operation without anesthetic, And so at first, when they were going to give him the job at CBS as the head anchor, right, they realized, no, man, this guy is too scary, He's just too scary. So they got pom-pom girl, Katie Couric, in there instead. Hi, here's the news, right? But eventually, like, Bob Dole and other people in political parties, it was Scott Pelley's turn to be the head. They couldn't deny him anymore, so they said, and this is my theory here, what drug can we give Scott? they're working on something, Bethesda. It's called ISF, a new drug. Stands for I'm sort of human. Now, that little cord that runs behind, news people's heads, that thing you see sometimes, with him it's actually a tube. And they're pumping this in because the drug only lasts for a couple of hours, and then he's no longer sort of human, and then it's too scary, So they got to keep him that way. So you'll get people that say, no, I want to be Scott Pelley, I want to be Diane Sawyer, I want to be Brian Williams. I've never wanted to be creative, I don't know what that is, don't talk to me about it makes no sense. I'm not an artist, never have been, I wouldn't know how to start, I've never had any talent, they always told me I had no talent whatsoever. Therefore, if you ask me to imagine what I would do to change reality or make a new reality that would take the secret space program and put it into a little bottle with a cork on it, of course I would have no way to do that because I've always wanted to be a statue. Maybe a super soldier with no feelings whatsoever and endurance. I can stay up for a week, kill people without any feeling whatsoever. That's a good one, yes. Scott Pelley, whatever. But I've never wanted to be an artist. Never. Those scruffy people should be put into pens. Never wanted to be creative. Not a good thing. Your family ends up hating you. There's no doubt about that. What a disappointment you've been to us with this art thing of yours. You're a problem. You're a problem, right? So all of society, you see, is organized against this. And it's not simply from above being organized. Yes, there is that. We are organizing it. We are collaborating and cooperating with each other behind the scenes to make sure that we don't start looking at each other and saying, she's an artist. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. And they look at me, oh, yeah, we're all artists, right? This must never happen. So we have, you and I and all of it, we have this consensus reality going, you see. The last thing we are is artists. You got that? It's kind of like you come into this world and you get a book and there's only one page in it. No one is an artist. Got it? Got it. Don't talk about it. No, we don't create reality. That's impossible. We have no real imagination. We should never ask ourselves the question, what can I do now? And seriously start to imagine something grand and actually follow through on it. I mean, follow through on it, right? Oh, I'm not that kind of person. I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, he's crazy. He's absolutely crazy, right? Oh, yeah, he's crazy. Okay, we're saying he's crazy. We're not creative. That means we're the normals. Don't you want to be normal? Absolutely. Don't you? Absolutely. We don't know what he's talking about. We're not creative. He's crazy. He's probably paranoid schizophrenic. Drug him. We are all sane. We're all normal. And we're looking for a mechanical solution to the problem. Ain't gonna happen. Sorry. Never, ever going to carry the day. The bad guys, we want a mechanical solution that will destroy the bad. Never gonna happen. Because the bad guys are the epitome of the mechanical. That's what you've been seeing, all of this stuff, this dreck. They want to put a ring of satellites around the planet and start beaming down frequencies at people to see how do we influence behavior. How does that work in Nigeria with our models? 72 hours, we beam this frequency down. Okay, let's analyze. And let's try over here in Bulgaria, whatever they call that now, yeah. And we'll give them that frequency. And then here is like Portland, Oregon, let's go with this frequency and see what we observe, how we can alter behavior and whatever, in the next 72 hours, and a perfect platform for mind control. I mean, it's reasonable to assume that people who have been doing, mind control since the dawn of time, as the priest class basically, and in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and on, MK Ultra at the CIA, that kind of trauma-based mind control, would be going for something more high-tech now. In fact, I interviewed John Marks, who is the author of Search for the Manchurian Candidate, who started the whole MK Ultra expose, and he told me basically that he was applying Freedom of Information Act to the CIA over and over again. They were not giving him anything, and then finally, as a joke, they sent him 10 boxes of financial records, CIA records. And he said, so I looked at the records and I was able to figure out a lot of what was going on. And then I was able to find the people to interview, and then I put the whole thing together. And they didn't like that. So then when I started applying again for more records, a guy at the CIA finally told me, Mark said, in 1962, MK Ultra went ultra dark. It was transferred from the Directorate of Technology, whatever, to the Office of Research and Development, ORD, and since 1962, that's where it is. And Mr. Marks, you will never see another document from any of that. I promise you. Forget it. It's over. You had your day, you had your fun with your book. Nobody is ever going to see those documents again. That what we're doing now in mind control. Well, with an attitude like that, I mean, slightly obstreperous, wouldn't you say? And now with all the high-tech whatever, I mean, it's reasonable to infer that they look at space, of course, Pentagon types and so forth. We own it. It's ours. The soul wants new space. The people, it's our space. We weaponize it. We do what we will with it. Let's put a ring of satellites around it, all connected, and let's start beaming different electromagnetic frequencies at people, and let's see what the effects are. Let's have some highly organized studies done to see what we can do. Okay, so these are the people. Okay, now we say, well, some mechanical solution is going to stop that forever? Like, gee, I know the answer's in here somewhere. I had a glimpse a little while ago of, the mechanical answer to all of that that's going to, I just can't remember it anymore. No. It's not like, oh, we're going to build a system that destroys the system. Ah. Well, if you think so, go for it. Let's see how it works out. But what I'm saying is, even if that were your approach, we're talking about imagination here. What can you imagine? And the problem here is that most people say, I'm nobody when it comes to that. That is the problem. Furthermore, it has always been the problem, all throughout time, has always been the problem. That individuals have said, I can't do it. That's not me. No, imagination. No, not me. Maybe him. Talk to him. Talk to her. I don't know, but not me. I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to get by. That's always been the problem, because the people that really want power say, good. We like you. You're cute. We got a thing for you called reality. Step into the theater. Here it is. You'll be entertained. You'll go up, you'll go down, you'll feel happy, you'll feel sad, you'll feel afraid, you'll feel paranoid, you'll feel glorious, you'll feel deflated, you'll feel satisfied, you'll feel happy, you'll feel disgusted, you'll feel pained, you'll feel all kinds of things, but it'll be exciting. You won't be bored even when you're bored. Because here's the thing. It's the reality theater. We made it for you. And we know you're just the kind of person who thinks that he doesn't really have the capacity to imagine it for himself. And so we've done it for you. Aren't we wonderful? Don't you love us? So, here's your ticket. Step right in. The show's on. People say, well, at least it's something, right? It's not just sitting here. It's not just twiddling my thumbs. It's something, isn't it? Okay, let's go for it. Let's see what happens. That's always been the problem. So the answer to the question, what can we do or what can I do, comes from you. Having asked that to yourself. Having then said, well, I have to imagine and create something else, which I can do. Because this whole theater that I walked into, I mean, somebody built that, didn't they? Didn't they? I mean, the Vatican, that's a theater. Didn't somebody build that? At the end of the Roman Empire, when everything was crumbling, didn't a few guys get together and say, you know, we've been doing this all wrong. It's not working out. The empire's too big. We can't get out there and conquer everybody and control the whole thing. You know, way out there in the boondocks, who knows what the hell's going on? We send people out, they don't come back. They change their names. All of a sudden, this guy, you know, his name was Schwartz, and now it's Ali Abda. What's going on, man? He was the governor, and now he's worshiping something. We don't even know what it is. You know, the supply lines are too long. We screwed up. The whole thing is starting to implode and crumble on us. What can we do? We have to invent a new theater. Mind control. And everybody says, oh, baby, we like that one. Mind control. Yeah, we have to paint a picture of the universe, not just the world. People, you know, we got to give them their money's worth. We got guilt, we got original sin. I love that stuff. We got the myths. We can pick and choose out of the Bible whatever we want. We can put it into different forms. In fact, we can say that all history terminates in the church. We can reinterpret the past, and we can say all these events that historians have said mean this, that, and the other thing are actually great moments in the history of the church, which they did. You can go to Arezzo in Italy, in a little church there, and see one of the great paintings in all of Western history, The Legend of the True Cross, Pier della Francesca. Much better before they restored it, and it's a whole episodic thing of what happened to the True Cross and so forth. And there's one panel, maybe the greatest of all, King Solomon receiving the Queen of Sheba. Whew. And then you say, what does this have to do with the Vatican or that religion? King Solomon receiving the Queen of Sheba? I mean, what is this, right? But then you discover that the church scholars have reinterpreted that a moment when King Solomon and Sheba met as, quote, the arrival. Meaning, and then they go, the arrival of the Savior. What? And they're rewriting history. Yes, King Solomon and Sheba, that's a symbolic event that actually, and metaphorically, we stretch it out. It all gets back to the arrival of the Savior. So in other words, if you study history within that scope, and you're not looking at real history anymore, it's all a metaphor that feeds into this final train station called the Vatican, where they reinterpret all of history. And these guys in Rome are saying, yeah, this is now getting somewhere, baby. We couldn't do it with conquering the world, just like America, can't do it, or anybody. Not going to happen. But we can do it by conquering the mind. That's a real theatrical project. We could spend 100, 1,000 centuries on that. We'll build cathedrals that'll be like television, right? Because they didn't have it then. So some guy wanders into one of these places and, this is like NBC. This is better. This is HBO, man. This is Netflix. Oh, look at that window. Right? Guys are looking down saying, we got it, baby. This is the kind of theater we want. Mind control. Control of consciousness. We'll put him into the mix master, give him his instructions, take his money. If he wants to pay his way into heaven, we can arrange that, probably, whatever, right? It's great. Fabulous. So, when we're dealing with stuff of this magnitude, you can't conceive of something that's going to defeat that and say at the same time that the people who are going to rise up and defeat it have no imagination whatsoever. It doesn't compute. It doesn't work. Yes, I mean, you could get an army, conceivably. Our mission is to bomb the Vatican and destroy it. Yes, sir. I mean, yeah, you could do that, but so they build another one, bigger. They would say, this is actually an opportunity. I always wanted a kind of a glass crystal thing, which we don't have, Yeah, it cost about $1 trillion, but I mean, we can raise that in a couple of years, Go out into the hinterlands. Tell these suckers with their churches out there, we got to send us 50% of everything now from the collection plates. Forget that 35. It's gone up to 50. We're going to build a thing in Rome that's going to be twice as big, and it's all going to be transparent crystal. A new theater. But if people en masse began to say, oh, I see, you guys are artists, right? You're artists, and you've got your own museum and your own theater, and you're making reality because you think that's what I want. You think you can sell me your infomercial about the cosmos. I get it. No thanks. Not interested. Why? Ultimately, because I'm making up my own. Yeah, I'm making up my own. I don't need yours. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'd like to take the tour. Hey, I'll give you $1, whatever, Does lunch come with that? You have a ticket I can, But as far as enrolling and becoming, nah. Because come into my studio. You see what I'm painting here? Come into my office. You see what I'm building here? Come into my, whatever, my pasture. You see what I'm creating here? Come into my world. You see what I'm making here? This is far more interesting to me than what you're making for everybody. I know what I'm saying is a tough sell. But see, I'm not selling you content. That's the difference. I'm selling you you. That's all I care about. If I can sell you you, then I'm happy. But not that shrunken down little... Man, I don't want the shrunken doll. You collect a few shrunken heads and it's like, what, are we going to do more of that? We got to get 10 more? No. Let me give you this example. We're sitting here, right? This is our space right now. Nobody else's. I don't care who owns this joint. I don't care who's putting on the event. I don't care about anything. Right now, this very second, this is our space. We got it. Whatever it is, we got it right here. It's this, it's this, it's this, and we have words, right? And I'm talking, and I know that you understand what I'm saying, and you know you understand what I'm saying. Okay. So let's take the materialist view of life, okay? By conventional physics, okay? Everywhere is particles, tiny little particles. Call them whatever you want, say they're matter or energy or whatever, but that's it. As far as you can go in the universe, that's it. That's what you got when you boil it all down. You got these little particles, right? Quarks and the things and the wavicles and the ba-ba-ba-ba. Okay. And the conventional physicists will tell you, if you press them far enough, that none of these particles contain consciousness. What? Or the ability, especially, to understand anything, like what we ordinarily take to be understanding. They're just particles, right? This thing here, particles, 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 particles. Brain, same particles. No different, don't give me that. Same particles. Sorry. So how is it possible, then, that I'm talking and you understand what I'm saying? It's not. Something impossible is happening here right now. Your brain is made out of the same particles mine is, which are the same particles the chair is, the same as the camera, same as her lipstick, the same as that strap, same as that thing you're wearing, a bracelet. It's all the same particles. Brain, same particles. Well, it's a different configuration, you see, and therefore, yeah, that's speculation. Prove it. Yes, it's all in the configuration, you see, and therefore we know that the brain is the seat of consciousness because consciousness exists, and all we have is the brain, and therefore the brain causes consciousness. Ew, is that right? Ever hear of circular reasoning, schmuck? All the same particles. So how is it possible that you're sitting there and I'm standing up here and you understand what I'm saying? Where's that understanding actually come? Well, it's a circuitry of the... No, the circuitry is all made of the same particles. There's nothing else in there. Well, there's photons. Yeah, different particles. Same thing. Does a photon say, I'd like to enroll in a calculus course at Yale? No. It just goes, bzz, 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 right? So by conventional physics, materialism, that's the philosophy aspect of it, there's no possible way that I could be talking, you could be sitting there understanding what I'm saying at this moment. It's impossible. It doesn't work. There's nothing to account for it. But yet, it's happening. Impossible. Therefore, you're not material. Hate to break it to you. Neither am I. We're inhabiting these things, but we're not material. These things are material, but we're not. And we possess this capacity to understand each other. Yes, the physical vehicle has a part to play in the theatrical this and the that and the blah, 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 but that's it. The actual understanding is non-material. Somebody says, wait a minute, I don't like that. Right? don't try to pull that one on me. I'm not non-material, my good friend. Well, too bad. So if that's the case here, what we're really looking at is a room full of non-material beings inhabiting bodies who are basically being confronted with the idea that they have extremely powerful imagination and creative power. That doesn't seem like a stretch to me anymore. Well, hey, if I'm not really made out of matter, some pretty wild things are going on here, you know? And if imagination happens to be one of those, why not? That makes kind of, yeah, I can see that. I create something. Now somebody says, well, can you snap your fingers and make an elephant appear over there? Nope. I can make him appear to me, a bozo, but if we go back into ancient Tibet, which is a whole other topic, I think we can see that they were on the trail of making an elephant that everybody could see. That's another story for another time, perhaps. But the point is, it's non-material you asking yourself the question, what can I do? It's not John Q. Patterson of 63 Gobby Gooby Drive in San Jose, California, blah, blah, with a phone number of this and a cell and a pair of glasses with a fence around his yard and a thing saying, what can I do? That's not it. Because that dude has absolutely no chance. He has no answers. He has no clue, right? He's the wrong character in the play to be dealing with that issue. John Q is a total bust. He's the dupe. He's the idiot and the pawn and the shrunken head. Now, you cast him in that role, he's great, right? I'm John Q and I'm the dupe. You can sell me anything, baby. I'll buy it. Except that I'm powerful and I have powerful imagination and tremendous creative power. That you can't sell me. But anything else, I'm your guy, you know. Ginzu knives, new paint job, vacation, resort that's selling me shares that already went out of business last year. You can sell me all that. I'm good. Yeah. So what it comes down to is, it's this kind of thing. This is sort of like theater, you see. It's like all of us sign up to be in a play. And so they open a huge closet, and there's all these clothes, costumes hanging there, and little descriptions. And we're looking around, okay, this is going to be about 80 or 90 years, so I want to get the one I want. Okay, here's a real schmuck. I think I'll take that one. Right? He doesn't know anything. He's going along with everything. Yeah, that's going to be the least amount of effort. So I want to go for that one. And that's what we all do, right? Yeah, look at her. She's really horrendous. Yeah, I'll take that one. You know? And we all take these, you know, we put them on. At the beginning, you see. Okay, now what do we have? Man, we got a total mess. It's going to be conflict, pettiness, more pettiness, and then even more pettiness, and then a lot of complaining and whining and excuses, and you know, from here to the sea to shining sea, because these are the roles that we chose. And then some of us grow up and we say, man, I don't know why. You got any like cleaner? It's sticking to me. I want to get rid of it. Right? But a lot of us just kind of go, play the hand that was dealt to me. You know? No. You dealt the cards to yourself. I want that jacket, yeah. You know, with the twinkles and the stars and the crazy hat and the goofy grin and the big shoes. Yeah, that's what I want, because he doesn't know anything, doesn't want to know anything. And then we wake up halfway, okay, halfway, and we say, my God, we're inside a play about a conspiracy. We're living in a theater in which everything is basically controlled and is a conspiracy. This is the theater that we're in. I didn't know I was in that play. I was an actor in that play. Holy crap. Look at this, and look at that, and look at this, and that deal, and this. How much? 10? Okay, 10. 10 hours, is that right? Just getting rolling. And we're halfway awake, right? Man, I didn't want to be, but we're still wearing the same costume, right? So how do you feel? Well, as we're sitting here right now, maybe we're okay, whatever. But there's a lot of sort of isolation. You know, people come to me, I can't talk to anybody. I start to tell them about this and that, and they look at me and they say, you're exactly the kind of failure we knew you would turn out to be. Right? You're a problem. Right? I'm feeling kind of isolated. You know, I don't know who to talk to. Right? I can't talk to anybody. That's halfway house. We're in the halfway house, right? We think he's kicked the addiction, but we're going to have to watch him to see what happens now. He's in the halfway house, right? He could slide back. He is watching the news again. We're not sure, you know. Every night at 6 o'clock, you can see him kind of, and he goes up to his room. Hi, Brian. Give it to me, baby. Give me no context, no background, connect no dots, the lies, straight out lies, no follow-up questions. Give it to me, baby. And the ads, I'll take the ads too, you know. We think he's sliding back. Not sure. We're all in the halfway house. We came out of the really stupid part of the play. You know, okay, we see the facts. A lot of these facts here, yeah. Conspiracy upon conspiracy, yeah, we see that, we see it, we got it, yeah. And now, I'm feeling isolated. I don't like that, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is, yeah, if you go to imagination and creative power, the isolation will go away. If you don't, it won't. Sorry, ding, 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 ding. Because if you now know what reality it is that you truly want to create, or realities, and nothing will stop you from doing it, and it's big, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, zappity-doo, baby, I'm alive now. Ready to go. All jets on. I've got power. I've got creative force. I've got imagination, and this is it. Big time. Major league of the major leagues for me, uniquely. That's my answer to what can I do? And you know what it is, and you desire it, and you want it, and you feel like you should do it as well, and it's all that piled in there, and now you're going for that. Now they let you out of the halfway house. Go, baby. You're done. You're done. And now there's no more isolation. It's gone. There's no more, I know what's happening and I wish I didn't. You know? Why did I ever get into this crap? It makes me feel worse than before. You know, all this kind of stuff. No. It's supposed to hurt. Right? That's the good kind of hurt. You mean they are, I remember, okay, I'm getting to the end, but I remember like 30 years ago spreading out the pharmaceutical drugs I was investigating, the toxicity from one to the other, it just worse and worse and worse and worse, and I just called up this guy that I know, this researcher, and I said, I can't believe it. I mean, this just goes wall to wall. I mean, this is chemical warfare. It's not medicine. It's not even remotely connected to medicine. It's just, chemical warfare. He said, yeah, you're right. That's the halfway house, or getting to the halfway house. So the rest is out the door. Creative power, imagination. Up to you, up to all of us. Yes, together, groups, community, the whole thing, fine. But I'm just saying, but there's this other thing. If you don't do it, on the individual level, if you say, well, I'm not an individual, there are no individuals. Thank God for that, because then I'd have to actually do something, and I'm just part of the magnificent glob. Because that's what we're all shooting for, is to become one with the glob. And I can see the glob in my dreams every night. And I'm going to be no longer me ever again. I will just be of globness in the land of the melted glob. Because that is the metaphysical goal of all of us, is to be globulated. Then we will know whatever there is to know. And we won't know whatever there is not to know. And we'll be fully realized as for. What does it mean? We don't know. But it is of the glob. My friends, this is where we are all going, you see. My name is Barack Obama. We're all in this together. My name is George Bush. This is a holy crusade. My name is Bill Clinton. I feel your pain. It's called jive. Jive, baby. It's called the collective jive, to globulate us all. There is no me, there is no individual, there never was. There is only, the melted cheese sandwich in the sky. And I will be part of that. And all will be realized in the fullness of time. Therefore, I don't have to have any creative power or imagination. I don't have to ask myself, what am I going to do about it? All I have to do is to find the sandwich and sneak in between the pieces of toast. And that's the church I belong to, and that's what they're showing me now. And they'll let me know when I qualify for the final slither. Even if it's craft singles, man, I'm there, baby. If that's what the glob wants, that's what I'm eating. Maybe it'll be French, who knows, whatever. I'll take it, because then I will be eradicated, finally, and then everything will be disclosed. Really? Doesn't sound right, does it? I will be eradicated and then everything will be disclosed. No. I think what happens after everything will be revealed, you see, some indeterminate blank period then ensues. Something like, I don't know, death. And then you become conscious again and you say, phew, what was that all about, man? Oh yeah, I was globulated. Man, I keep making that mistake every time I come down here to this joint. I get into the friggin' cheese sandwich again. Can't I learn that the cheese sandwich does not have the ultimate solution? I don't seem to be able to, This time it's going to be different. No more globulating. And the guy turns on the TV. Hi, everybody. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and my name is Dr. Hermann Glob. Dr. Hermann Glob. I'm here to globulate you. You say, gee, man, it's only $29.95, Get out. No. There's you. There's me. There's you, all of the yous and so forth, Every you is non-material, eternal, tough shit if you don't like it, too bad, you can't do anything about it, you're inhabiting a body, you've got tremendous creative power and imagination, and you can answer the question, what do I do about it, if you take enough time and you dig deeply enough, and then your life is totally transformed, you're out of the halfway house, and you're no longer isolated. Thank you very much. Thank you, David.
Thanks. Thank you, John. Thank you very, very much. Great stuff. Great stuff. Exactly. How do we use the beyond being rational? We have to be irrational to break out of the monoculture that John is talking about.
Not just speculated, from a comprehensive overall review, extensive review of all of the literature of laboratory paranormal experiments on all manner of tests, the balls dropping into slots, telepathic sending of photographs. These are all laboratory experiments, ruling out the badly formed experiments from the good experiments. A major undertaking, and his book, The Conscious Universe, comes to the correct conclusion that overwhelmingly the data show that there is a significant existence of the paranormal. That's what the research indicates. Greater than probability, greater than chance, greater than, all of that. 1993, 94, around the time I was running for Congress in Los Angeles, casually meet a woman from the Soviet Union who is one of their officially certified psychics. And we're having a nice conversation. I mean, they do have these people over there, or they did. And I said, so what do you do there? She said, I talk to the cosmonauts when they come back. Really? Oh, yes, absolutely. Then she finds out that I'm a reporter and she doesn't want to talk to me at all. I said, can you, give me something, anything. What are they saying, the cosmonauts, right? No, can't talk. Secret. I said, just give me one example of what cosmonauts have said when they come back from space. What happens to them in space? And she says, talking to dead relatives. Really? Yes. I said, so suppose I go out into space, do I have to talk to my dead relative? Now, I've researched this for many years as a reporter. I can tell you, I'm not just, chatting about that. I can give you chapter on verse on why psychiatry is an absolute pseudoscience, has absolutely no basis in science whatsoever. There is absolutely no laboratory test of any kind for a definitive diagnosis of any of the 300 officially certified mental disorders. 0 tests. No blood test, no urine test, no hair test, no anus test, no toe test, no eye test, no genetic assay, no brain scan, no nothing. And if you read the DSM, which is the Bible of the psychiatric profession, you discover that nowhere in there, I don't care what it is, autism, schizophrenia, anything from the oldest classical labels to the newest ones, oppositional defiance disorder, whatever, will you find a definitive laboratory test that allows the psychiatrist to make that diagnosis? Wow. I wish I could float a scam like that. I mean, we're talking big time bullshit, right? Not little stuff. This is big time. You're in the majors when you're doing that. You're in the major leagues when you're doing that. and to convince the government to back you up and make you a virtual monopoly in the field of mental health, to even back you up with courts, 72-hour lockdowns in psych wards, guns if necessary, to enforce that monopoly over the mind, that is some big-time conning. Big-time conning. On a PBS episode of Frontline called Does ADHD Exist?, they interviewed Dr. Russell Barkley, who was at the time, professor of neurology. And this one is for Harry. Okay, so Edgar Mitchell goes into space, he comes back with other colleagues. They're debriefed at NASA. Very good source tells me they report paranormal experiences in space. Slightly uncomfortable for federal government, but they've heard this before. Not the first time guys have gone out and come back. I'm not talking about we saw saucers. I'm talking about somebody like Mitchell or one of his colleagues saying, out in space I could look down at Earth and see with my naked eye people walking around. I was told this in 1973 by a physicist of repute, and then NASA said to Mitchell, we can't really go public with this, right? I mean, you can understand that, right? But what we might be able to do is get your little seed money so that you could do research on your own, leave NASA, and report back to us, keep us informed on what you find out, because we're interested. We're definitely interested. And again, it's not the first time stories like this have been told, people coming back. And all of a sudden, something called the Institute of Noetic Sciences pops up. Ding, ding, ding. Research into the paranormal. The best paranormal reviewer of research in the world, Dean Radin, is now the chief of scientists there at Noetic Sciences. He wrote a book called The Conscious Universe, in which he proved, especially my Aunt Gert, because she's going to be looking for salami from the Carnegie Deli in New York, no matter where she is, in the cosmos, and she's going to try to get me to find it, right? Out of the gravity well, things happen to people. Leave the gravity field, things tend to happen to people. Not everybody, not all the time. This is a working hypothesis, but it's got some merit, significant merit. Government agencies are interested in this. What happens to people who leave the gravity well? Talked seriously to a guy who worked with one of these low gravity training chambers. Back and forth. Do people ever have out of the body experiences? Are you kidding? All the time. Really? Oh yeah, absolutely. What does out of the body experience mean? It means that the person is perceiving some section of reality from outside their body, and they know it. What psychiatrists would call psychotic behavior, for which they want to provide many medications. My boy, we have to stuff you back in, because this is not good, what's happening to you. Well, doctor, I had a great time. I had no problem out there. It was tremendous, in fact. In fact, I could tell you a lot about what I realized about my life, existence, reality, all sorts of things. Indeed, my boy, all hallucinations, for which we will medicate you. Because I can tell you, paranoid schizophrenia, we have the labels for this. Gives you another slant on psychiatry. The primary role of psychiatry is to stuff people back in.
60 seconds and counting. We are go for Apollo 7 at this time. T-minus 50 seconds. The vehicle now pressurized, and the vehicle is go as is the spacecraft at this
Our second speaker was a former candidate for Congress. He has worked as an investigative reporter for 30 years. Early in his career, LA Weekly submitted his name for a Pulitzer Prize. He is the author of The Secret Behind Secret Societies and Oklahoma City Bombing, The Suppressed Truth. Kind of connects with what Catherine went into here today. He has spoken to audiences all over the world on politics, mind control, deep medical fraud, and he's done some tremendous work pertaining to the creative power of the individual and how to break away from the system of control. Again, why do people accept this kind of stuff? Why do they not know more about it? He's one of the great journalists, I would say, that we have in the alternative field. He is dedicated, committed, and very focused in his efforts. His angle and work is an essential part in bridging the topics of this conference out to other fields so that we may understand how cover-ups are possible and how programs like this have remained hidden and secret for such a long time. He writes prolifically at his website, nomorefakenews.com, and he's going to talk to us about mind control, the secret space program, and the secret theater of reality. So with that, please help me welcome Jon Rappoport.
How about that? Is that okay? Can we just sort of trim down the echo? So let's put all the lights on. I see there we go. Oh, people. Okay, because I have no slides. I have no information. I have no background. I come from a faraway place.